And we're live. Welcome to Open Source Block Explorers Now. This is the 6th edition. We have some brand new people to us, and actually, I'm going to pass the buck to Mitch to moderate. But just so you guys know, this is like the biggest point of centralization in Ethereum right now. We have one place where we can go and see internal transactions. If you want to know what contracts are doing on the Ethereum blockchain, you have one solution. That solution is amazing. Matt and the whole team at Etherscan do an incredible job, and we love their work. It's the only thing that allows us to do anything cool in this space. So thank you guys for sure, but that's not the point. Etherscan is awesome, but we need other alternatives, and we have lots of people all around the world working on this, and this is the bi-weekly call, as in every 2 weeks we make this call happen. So if you guys ever want to be on the call, reach out to me or Mitch, find us on Twitter, comment on this YouTube video, and we'll, if you are actually creating something that can contribute to analyzing the Ethereum blockchain, then tell us about it, and this is your forum. So yeah, Mitch, you want to take it away?
Very good. Yep, my name is Mitch. Thanks a lot, Griff. I'm with the Ethereum Foundation. I'm helping with PM for this open source block explorer and another bounty for something called ETH Prize. And we're also talking to a lot of people in the community and kind of figuring out where some pain points are in the Ethereum ecosystem and trying to figure out how to kind of lift all boats with a rising tide. So I'm the PM here, which means I do a lot of the work that nobody else wants to do, and very happy to do that and kind of help move things along. And then I think it's good to pass it to Ankit.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Ankit, and I am a co-founder of Analyse Ether. And our objective is to make analysis of Ethereum data as easy as possible. And as a byproduct, we are also creating a explorer on top of our database. So we are pushing all the Ethereum data in a database, and then we are putting APIs on top of that database. So that's all from my side. Over to you, Ben.
Hi. So we're OST. We set out to make it very easy for companies, normal web platforms, to integrate Ethereum tokens into their economy. And for that, we had to build several pieces, and predominantly actually also layer 2 scaling solutions. So I've in the past also been building towards a multi-chain universe. And so with our project, we also evaluated what was available. And by definition, we had to build a multi-chain explorer already, because POA network is along the same lines, I think. And this is also then nice segue into why I think we're here. It takes a lot of work. We've invested so far quite a bit of work to get a basic version running. And we're definitely not wanting to reinvent the wheel or keep this as a separate effort. So any effort on aligning those development efforts into one open source awesome explorer, very much open to do so, or to contribute, but also maybe to move to another common project or whatever works. And then yeah, I can give a very high-level overview later, but I'll give it back to you.
Well, yeah, and who's with you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was before the recording, so I had the idea that I'd already introduced her. But this is Nike. She's one of our lovely PMs, and she kindly helped me to assist in this effort. So.
Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. And I guess I should intro. I'm Griff Green. I work with Giveth, and I'm just helping out in friendly face. I'm excited about seeing another alternative.
Awesome. So Griff, I think you wanted to have a little bit of an EthVM update.
Yeah, I was very lucky to be in LA yesterday, hanging out with Kosala and the crew. They are starting to make some steps towards making steps on EthVM. There's a lot of links down below. EthVM is just an open source block explorer that uses Vue as a front end and modified Go client on the back end. And I'm not really fully knowledgeable about how the system works. and I'm not a dev, right? But they just hired, or I think they just officially got Aldo to take lead on this project. So that's really exciting because they've been really busy with MyEtherWallet stuff. And so if anyone is looking to contribute to working with an open source block explorer and they like JavaScript and Go and normal programming languages, this is probably the best option for you. And now that they have a project lead, I think we'll start to see real progress.
Cool. I suppose then I'll step in. Andrew C., who's usually on the call for the POA network, unfortunately, he had a prior commitment, but he gave me a nice update. So things are going really well from their end. They're looking to get feature parity with Etherscan within approximately a month. So there's a little bit more work to go, but they've really ramped up their velocity. I think they're hitting on all cylinders. So for Ether parity, you're going to have looking at blocks, transactions, accounts, token support for ERC20, contract verification, interaction, and UX. They've completed the blocks, transactions, and the accounts and the contract verification, and they're currently looking at the token support and the contract interaction. They're spending a lot of time on UX because that's a very important thing. Stay tuned as well for ETH Prize. That's most likely where we're going to be looking at for our next $250,000 or so bounty. Blockchain is very exciting, but the UX and UI sometimes leaves a lot to be asked for. But so they're spending a fair amount of that time, and I think that's about their update. So they're really hitting on all cylinders. So with that, I think I can kind of open it up to Ankit if you want to jump into a quick demo of Analyse Ether.
Yeah, I can do a demo of our MVP.
Yeah. And for a time box, I think about 10, 15 minutes, I think is probably appropriate.
Okay. So just a quick reminder, what we are doing right now is we don't have an explorer. We have a tool to basically query, to do SQL queries on the Ethereum database.
Cool.
So you manage your own database? Is that what you're saying? That you
Yeah.
basically maintain a database, and this allows you to
do the queries.
Okay.
So this is how it looks like. And suppose you want to launch a new query, and you want to suppose you just want to count the number of transactions that happen to a particular contract address. So suppose that is the ZRX contract address. And what we provide is the data of all blocks, receipts, transactions, uncles, and also logs and traces or internal transactions, but they are not up to date yet. So this is still MVP. We are still working on it, but the database on these three are not up to date.
Mm-hmm.
And so we see very quickly we can launch a very simple. So this is a very simple SQL query, but you can do more things on top of it. What we also provide is a database of several tokens. So instead, if you want to also count the number of transactions that happen to all the tokens that are available in this database, what you can also do is basically what this query will do is it will find where the transactions.to column or where the transaction was sent to matches to the tokens address column.
Cool.
And you can see, I think I should also add a name. And you can see that we have, okay, this particular token has these many transactions in a
Awesome.
very quick time, in almost 3 seconds. And you can also build visualization on top of it. So you can build pie charts very simply. And so you can see, okay, the EOS token has 11.1% of transactions in the whole mainnet, or CK or CryptoKitties token has 8.16% transactions.
Cool.
So this is our basic MVP. And since we are also building the database for our product, we will also generate or publish APIs so anyone can query our database.
Nice. So as
And,
far as a tech
yeah.
stack goes, you have a SQL database. What other technologies are you using for your MVP?
So we run queries on BigQuery. We use a Python Flask web application as a front end, and as the backend of this web app, and Angular as the front end of this web app.
Nice.
So this web app is currently forked from, there's a very popular library called Redash, for an open source popular library called Redash for business analytics. And we have modified it to our own purpose for the MVP use case. And what you can also do is you can, for example, merge multiple queries together to make a coherent dashboard. So for example, this dashboard tells you what is the current block number in our database, or what are the total number of transactions, what are the total uncles, or what are the total number of smart contracts. And if you are interested in looking, okay, how someone generated this query, you can click on this particular cell and click on show source, and you can see the SQL query. If you like what this guy has done, you can also fork this query and update according to your interests. Or for example, you can also look at another dashboard which tells you the daily statistics. So this is the number of mined blocks per day, number of unmined, and etc. etc. So this is what we are trying to build. And there is very serious limitations to our current MVP, but this is a quick demo of what we want to build.
That's really cool, dude. This looks amazing. I'm curious, what inspires you to build it? Are you going to continue to maintain it? What's your roadmap look like? How many people are working on it? Like, what's the background for supporting this product? Because it looks really cool, man.
Thanks a lot. Last year I was doing my PhD in machine learning, and I wanted to do data analysis of Ethereum, but unfortunately there was no tool to do the data analysis as easily as possible. So after I finished my PhD, I thought I'll build it on my own. So currently we are 1.5 people. I am working full time, and another friend of mine, my co-founder, is working half time. And everything is built on Google Backend, and we are working since I think January this year.
Cool. Do you guys have a plan for like a business model, or is this kind of like free to use forever, or?
This is not free to use forever, because the queries are quick, because we run them on Google BigQuery backend, which takes almost $5 every TB of data analyzed. And so we have to somehow earn money to provide that quick query and quick result analysis. So we are working on a business plan, but that needs to be put in place for this to be long-term sustainable.
Yeah, I guess you have different options, either like a subscription model or charging per
Exactly.
query. But yeah, that's very, very compelling. Cool.
We are thinking mostly on, for example, charging the users the amount of the data he or she analyzes. So, for example, similar to Google charges $5 per TB. We might charge a little bit extra, but that is what we are trying to aim.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are there any more thoughts on this one, or should we then move on to Ben and OST? Cool. I think with that we can chat with Ben if you guys are ready for a quick demo of what you want to show off.
Yeah. I mean, like I said in the Telegram channel, it's a bit improvised, but we can definitely give you the broad strokes. So when we looked at this problem, first of all, we evaluated a few of the repositories that existed. But then, as indicated, we needed specifically also something that is compatible with multiple chains analyzing, right? And then, because we're a simple token, our core driver is getting to mass adoption through user friendliness by focusing on user experience. And so we also looked at Etherscan, and then we actually saw that Etherscan is built up from block first, then transactions, accounts, and as the afterthought, almost the tokens. And over the latest period, actually, the tokens have become the dominant feature on Ethereum. And also specifically what we build and want to build is this technological platform for letting thousands of token economies flourish. So we actually turned that user experience in reverse. And we focus first on the token economies. Then you can drill down in what transactions are, the accounts, and finally the blocks. And then at the block level, you can also see, or at the transaction level, you can see on which chain it was actually running, because big economies might actually run over multiple chains and such. So I can share my screen for a moment, and then talk through that if that works.
Let's do it.
So if you go to u.ost.com, so this is publicly hosted, and it runs for our testnet that is connected with Robston. And so we have been running a second POC challenge where we had 87 or 80 final, well, we started with 250 applicants, selected 142, then midway selection, 80, and now also 80 are in the final.
I guess today we received
committed.
the final submission number, 74.
Oh, so, okay. So
yeah.
Sorry, 74. So the data is sort of it stopped now end of June. End of May. But sort of the build-up that we did is we focused on the number of communities, so tokens that are defined. The number of token holders here in this testnet is now 182,000, and then sort of the market cap in this fake OST is calculated here. And so in our Explorer, we also do the aggregation of data, and so we produce these graphs that are not super at this point, but you can zoom out to scale, and we count the number of token transactions and then the volume that is being traded. And then sort of in this idea of putting the token first, we aggregate sort of the top tokens and then the latest token transfers. Well, it's still being used apparently, but the POC challenge is over now, so the activity is a bit down.
Top tokens is measured by what?
I think by market cap. I mean, looking at the numbers, yes. So whether that's the ideal measure, we don't know, but and that's things we're iterating over with the POCs, and that it can also be changed in light of these discussions. But it was driven from initially getting a lot of users. In the first POC, we had challenges on trying to break the system by having several sort of usage metrics. And I think their market cap came out as one of sort of this leaderboard. So that's what we have. But that is very much just from the early POCs and getting developers to use the system. But then if you click on one of the tokens, then you have a summary for these tokens. So you can see where the contract is defined. We have a UUID for the token. So and then its price. So the context here, and that might not generalize to Ethereum mainnet, is that that OST is a white label token, so you can repurpose it for your own token economy without any of the OST. So that's the context you have to keep in mind, how we design the OST, but or the browser here for view.ost, but the inner workings and the backend we can definitely look to repurpose. And then here again, it has sort of the token transfers for, and then the token holders. I don't know if this is sorted, maybe not. Put simply token, I don't know who they are. Let's go to another one. Doesn't super matter so much. But and then if we take a transaction here, and so we did, and so when it comes to sort of the question of feature parity, we definitely have the blocks, the accounts, the transactions, and the tokens, and the tokens specifically are sort of first, right? So I said that the first experience is this token featured, but then if you drill down, you come to a transaction page, and then so there's a normal transaction hash. The amount transferred here is 0, so this is not so interesting as a transaction. But this is a more interesting one, and here sort of what you can see is that we also built more complicated token rules engine for these transactions. So we also have the input data here, and specifically we actually from this perspective of user experience, 2 things that we are doing that is important to note here. One, we're not so we're whitelisting which contracts that we scrape and then put actually into the MySQL. So we put everything, we parse the events, and then we put them into MySQL, and then further render them to the page here. But to keep that database limited, we only render for those files, or we parse for those ABIs that we know. But that can so that touches on the second point. What we do not yet have from Etherscan is the contract verification, because we right now only parse the contracts that we recognize, the code that we recognize. But those are things that we can expand, and then where we're wanting to build this further, first of all, is a mobile version, and then also, so it's indicated here. What is specific that you wouldn't see on Etherscan is that we don't have a selection of which chain are you following at the top, but each transaction, the whole set of chains is actually just treated equally. So it's part of that vision of being more agnostic about which chain it is run on, rather than having to pre-select chains. And that also sits with work that we're doing on building a layer 2 network that composes multiple chains as if they form as one. But that's off topic. But that's sort of the design choices that we've made here. Maybe there's some questions or some things that aren't clear.
Sure. I'll borrow from Griff's. But the roadmap. So one, like how many people are supporting this currently? You mentioned mobile. What are the directions you kind of are interested in doing? And also, if you've had time for your team to check out what EthVM and also POA network has been doing, and see if you can kind of mix and match there.
So the roadmap and how we're building this because we needed it. We didn't evaluate or think about the POA network, I think, when we did the evaluation, or maybe we did it, maybe the timing didn't work out, but I'll take the blame for that. But the important part for us is to service, and why we will keep doing this irrespective, is that we need it for our user base, right? So first of all, for the developers, they need to be able to easily see as they're building other smart contracts later on as well on these multi-chains, what's happening where. So just as a dev tool, it's very important. But then, as I've emphasized also, we believe that if we want to get users on board, we have to think about user experience. And so the average user probably doesn't want to know which block to look for. It really or transaction hashes. It's more interesting to group it by context, and that's why we sort of have it token centered. And so regardless, it's cost quite a lot of resources already to get here, but we'll keep building this out further irrespective. And then, as I said, it's very interesting to see if we can do this, because sort of to save just operating costs, for example, at this point, what we're not doing and what is on the roadmap is fully scanning Ropsten. The technology, I mean, the code can do it, but we just don't want to at this point increase the hosting costs of this view.ost.com. It also doesn't have to be I mean, maybe where it's hosted is a different question for later as well. But we sort of made those choices along the way as we're still very much in alpha.
Yeah, and actually, Mative10 has a question for you. How possible is auto discovery tokens? If you heard right, the current selection is whitelisted on your end.
So it scans everything, but it puts it into the MySQL database if it knows the ABI files and recognizes the code, because we're building our own sort of additional set of contracts that makes it easy to define rules for how the token behaves in your application, etc. And so those contracts we know, and so for the current phase where we're building this, that is sufficient to help the developers building on this to recognize their contracts. But so we're building 093 right now. With 094, we really want to open it up to arbitrary Ethereum smart contracts, and so that will then also later reflect in Vue where things like contract verification of arbitrary contracts might be an important topic. Does that answer the question? Did we lose you?
Yeah, no, I think it does. We might have lost script there. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good answer to the question. I'm just going to scan real quick the YouTube channel to see if questions. 1 second.
Yeah, sorry, that came from YouTube chat. So he'll have to. There's like a 20-second delay. So we'll see. We'll see if they answered his question.
So so this is the repository. So OpenST Foundation, OpenST Explorer. There's instructions on how to run yourself, and then the Vue.ost version is just the version that we're hosting specifically for Ropsten and our testnet. But with respect to costs, I'm actually not sure. I haven't looked at the numbers. But yeah, we're happy to support this effort, both with dev resources and building it out also for Ethereum mainnet. But as I mentioned, we evaluated scanning the whole of Ropsten, and then that just didn't serve a purpose right now.
Yeah, all the actions on the Rinkeby anyway. Just so you know, if you really want to pick a testnet, go with Rinkeby. That's where the action's at. Do you have any other? Let me just say, can both you guys add a bunch of links so I can put them in the YouTube video so that people can figure out how to join your project and code on your project and help out? It'd be really nice to have like a group link or like some kind of chat link that you prefer, and your GitHubs, obviously.
Yeah, I'll share them on here, or I'm recording.
Yeah, if you put it, type it into that document that has the agenda for the notes.
Yeah, I'll link that again on the Telegram as well.
Yeah, I'll follow up after the call as well. Cool. Let me stop the screen share here. Or sorry, Nikki, did you want to? I have no idea where this is.
Maybe we can also attach the link for the new sign up for the next Alpha 3 phase for the POC challenge.
Sure, but I mean
for now for the
but on topic, just you have things for
some notes.
The view. Okay, we touched on most of it.
Yeah, I guess we touched most of. Ben already mentioned most of the things I prepared.
Okay.
So I guess he touched most of the things. So I can maybe mention which features of the view are most important for which party we are seeing there, for which personas, for the devs. As he already mentioned, especially the transaction hash page is very interesting, which you can reach by clicking on a transactions link or just pasting the hash into the search, and then you will directly reach this page. And for the people who plan to build a token economy, for those, of course, the overview page you reach directly at the beginning is the most important one. And besides it, also their kind of contract detail page. Maybe should we show it?
Contract detail page? I don't know if let's give it back to Griff or Mitch first, because I do have some questions, like which direction is useful for the Ethereum Foundation perspective, and how can we help, or we can move that to a second meeting. I don't know.
Yeah, that might be better for a second meeting, or we can take that one offline. But yeah, this is a very good demo. Very nice progress. Good to see everything that you guys are doing, especially coming from a token perspective. Yeah, and very strong work.
Thank you. I mean, this is. I hope I presented it well. There's a lot of work from people around me, so credit goes to them.
Awesome. I think that might be it from my end. Griff and Ankita, is there anything else that would be good to chat about now, or?
No, I mean, I'm getting a massage over here, so I think life is pretty good.
You've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's good.
Cool.
Yeah, I just hope that we can find, if anyone's interested in deving on these projects, definitely reach out to us. The goal of this call is to connect everybody that we can working on this project. So
cool.
Thank you guys for coming. Yeah.
Great
thanks,
guys.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Cool.
Well,
sign off.
Cool.
See you guys.
See you guys in a couple weeks.
And see you next time.
Sure. Bye.